So we've now stripped the 804s. I've already sanded up the other one, but this one we need to sand up. So what we're going to be using is some 240 grit to sand the surface, because we don't really want to score it up too much. We want to do an ultra smooth finish, and then followed by some 240 by hand. So now we're going to wash the surface of it, of the speaker, in methylated spirits now, just to neutralise it. And now you can see, look at the grain coming out of that. How wonderful does that look? And when we start doing the polishing on these, we're going to be staining them slightly, because we need to stain them to make them slightly darker than that. And we don't want to make them too dark, so we're just going to do a light stain on them. And when we spin it round there, you can see the lovely grain effect that's come. Walnut has got a lovely grain to it. I mean, I must admit, these speakers are very well made. I was quite surprised, because a lot of speakers, you see, you spend a couple of thousand on a set of speakers, and the inside, I mean, you've only got to watch GR Research. He sort of reveals how poor a lot of the crossovers are. Some of them are very poor, and so there we go. That's all nicely washed over and neutralised, so we'll leave that to dry, and we'll be back soon. So here we have a pot now, okay, and we're going to be using a soluble water-based walnut crystals to make our walnut stain. Now, you can buy a ready-made stain made up, but I tend to do a lot of it like this. So we just put it in. We can make it as dark or as light as we want by mixing it ourselves like this. So we've put a very small amount in there. Okay, just use an old spoon just to mix it up. Now all we want to do with this stain is just to give it a tint. We don't want to give it too much, make it too dark. So what I tend to do is then I pour this into another pot and then mix some more water with it, just to bring the colour down a bit, because we don't want it, as I say, we don't want it to go too dark. Right, okay. So now I've transferred the stain into this cup here, and I've got some more water here, so we just need to pour some in. As I say, we only want a slight tint, we don't want to make it too dark. We can add some extra stain in with the polish if we need to tint it to get it slightly darker, but we don't want to start off too dark, so need a little bit more than that in there. You can sort of judge it and then get to what you think. Now I think that's probably going to be a little bit more, that'll probably be around about right. So let's put that down there. Okay, so what I'll do is now I need to cut some stockinette rag, okay, which is here. We need to cut a couple of bits, a small bit and then a larger bit, just to dry off after. Put that over there, and hopefully you should be able to see this. Right, I'm going to bring that back over this way a little bit. Now you want to take this piece of cloth and make it into a pad, like so. Dip it in the stain. Right, so that's still a little bit light, you see. That's not up to the colour that I want it. Let's just try a bit on the surface up here. No, that's going to be too light, I think. So we'll chip the remainder of this into here as well. And that should make it darker. Give it a twirl around with your finger. There we go. So now what we want to do is just give the whole thing a stain over with this. You can see the lovely grain coming out in that now. So we've stained the top and the bottom and the sides. Now we're just going to stain the front baffle here. Now there are a couple of little marks on the back there in the veneer that are quite, they were deep, and I've managed to reduce them a bit, but I can't get it out totally. It's only fractional stuff. There we go, let's give it another bit of a... So what we do is we use the other piece of cloth just to rub the stain in, just to even it out. There we go. So now all we need to do now is to leave this to dry for a while. It's going to take I don't know, around about half an hour to dry in properly because it's water based. Just go over the top of that a bit more now. I've got it on the end. And then we'll be able to start the preliminary coats, which are the sort of sealer coats. There you go, looks lovely. You can see all the grain there nicely coming out. So as the stain starts to dry, it will go lighter again. As I say, we don't want to make it too dark. As you can see around there, it's drying off there. So as you can see now, both speakers are all stained up and dried. So this is the polish we're going to be using, which is heat resistant special powder polish by Morel. So this is basically a modern version of a French polish, but hard wearing, more like a lacquer. So what we want to do is just give it a bit of a shake first, make sure it's all mixed properly. Then we're going to pour it into our container here. I usually use a container there with just put some tin foil in there. Put that down there. So I always water this down very slightly. So just give it a bit of meths in there just to loosen it up a bit. Give it a shake. Now I've just run out of gloves, so I'm having to use this glove for now just to seal these up, and I'll be popping out to get some more. So now we've got a bit of stockinette rag here. All we've done is made it into a pad. This is like an open rubber. So and then we just flow the polish on up and down. You can see the grain busting out now, and you're getting a true colour now of the wood there, which has been stained. So you'll be surprised, if you've seen previous videos of mine, you'll be surprised on how many coats I give these speakers, or all the speakers that I do. So I'll probably give these around about 8 base coats, and then I shall leave them for quite a while, overnight generally, and then I'll come back and denib the surface of them with some 1000 grit paper, sandpaper. Well, it's not sandpaper, it's special Lubrasil paper. And now, because it's very tall on the top here, I've got to work my way over. I shall get a step soon, so I can step up there and see what's going on. And then we'll come round to the front here. Now this is the bit that you've got to be a bit more cautious with, because you'll find you'll get snags and little runs if you're not careful. So we just gently pull the rubber down. So the reason I use an open rubber to start with is because it goes on thicker to start with, and I want a nice base coat to work with. There we go. And obviously I can't do the underneath until it's all dried. So I shall take that off of the tripod now, the camera, and show you what it looks like all around. There we go. So this one's had one coat on there. It doesn't matter if you miss a tiny little bit to start with, because you'll be going over it. So that's compared to this one, which is lighter. Well, it's fractional, but it definitely is. And the more polish we build up, the greater the depth will become. So I'm going to carry on doing these and building them up, and I'll show you once they're done. So now these have had around about 10 coats in the end. Sometimes when you polish stuff, different wood needs more coats than others, and this I felt needed a few more. So this is just the sealer coats. Yes, 10 sealer coats. Well, this is a very special finish that I do. It's just not, it's not a cheap and nasty thing that you can do very quickly. It's time consuming, and as I said, I polished one of Elton John's pianos before, so I've been doing this a very, very long time, and I am very good at it, without pulling my own trumpet, of course. But so we're going to leave these now overnight to dry, and then we'll be cracking on with the flattening back of them and doing the final finishing coats, which will probably be around 40 coats, I'd say, maybe more, it depends. So you can imagine the amount of work and effort that goes into producing a finish like this. This finish will be far better than what Bowers and Wilkins put on their spray finish. Although they do some very nice finishes on their highly lacquered speakers. Some of the ones, I mean, you could have got this in a highly lacquered finish of black or maybe a different colour. And they do some really nice finishes, but yeah. Anyway. So the speakers have been left now overnight, and we're going to flat back the surface. So what we're doing is we're basically rubbing out any imperfections in the surface, and we're using P100. This is really good stuff, this Gold Flex Soft. It's very flexible in it, so it hugs the shape. So all we do is we're just working circles. You can go circles or straight with the grain, doesn't matter. It's such a fine scratch it's putting in the surface. And what this process is called flouring up. So as you can see, and then what you need is a piece of cloth just as you go along, just to wipe off, just to see. I'm just using some kitchen towel here, just to see how far you've gone with it. So you can feel it, it's really smooth. This bit feels slightly rough because obviously the grain rises once you've stained it. And so these are the sealer coats. So all in all, I gave these 10 coats. So I polished the bottoms last night as well, but the bottoms would just stay like that because they're not seen. So I should just wire all those down at the end and wax them. So I'm going to carry on with this, and then I'll show you it once I've finished flattening it back. So I've flatted back the rest of it, and just the top here to flat back, the curved top. So there we have it. That's all nicely flatted back. So all we need to do now is just clean it all off, and I'll be back to you once I've done that. So we've flattened them all back. We've wiped them all down. They look really good now. So now we need to mix up some polish to do the finishing coats. So again, we're using our heat resistant special power polish from Morel's. This is very hard wearing. It's similar to a traditional French polish like button polish or garnet polish, but it's resins in alcohol with a little bit of shellac, opposed to the traditional ones are generally just pure shellac. Now, problem with pure shellac is it's not that hard wearing. So I use this for everything because it's really good. And then we're going to need some methylated spirits as well. So what we've got to do now is just to pour some polish into our... So what I just use is these plastic tubs, and I'll cover them in tin foil. So we need to put some polish in there. Like so, not loads of it, because it evaporates as well while you're using it. So I only put a small amount in at a time. And then we want to add a bit more mess this time than we did with the base coats, because this is the finer part of the finish. I shall show you that now. You just mix it with my finger. So that is very smooth now. Not very smooth. I'm not sure if you can see that on camera. And then this is what I call a rubber. So what I do is I keep this in a jar, okay, with methylated spirits in it. So you see it's all still wet. What I do is I tip it all out there. I'll squeeze it out to get all the meths out. Probably best to do this away from the job. You don't want it splashing on the job there. So, and the reason why I keep using the same cloth until it wears out. Now it takes ages to wear out. So we're going to put that somewhere else over here for the minute. And so that is the French polishing rubber there. So what it is, it's a bit of stockinette rag rolled up inside an old sheet. Now usually these are just old hospital sheets that I get from Morell's as well. They come in a big kilo, so they last me absolutely ages. So now what we do is we dip our rubber and load it up in the polish there, and then we can either start from the top or the bottom. And then what we do is we just drag it down. Now keep your rubber nice and, make sure you keep it all nice and tucked in, and you flow it over the surface. Now what this is doing is it's giving him an ultra fine coat, and what it does is, because it's got meths in it and it's watered down, it dissolves on the surface as it goes up and down. So any tram lines you get from passing a cloth up and down will gradually fade away. There we go. So I'm going to crack on with that now, and you'll be able to see it. There we go. So I'll show you that again in a minute. So you can see we're loading the rubber up again, and we'll start from the bottom here and work our way up now. Okay, and then work our way along the top like that to about there. Work our way along there, and then we're going to come down over the port. Now make sure you don't get anything snagging on the port there, any drips or runs. Then we're going straight up there and then down. So that is one coat. I haven't done the top yet. I'm going to get up on a step and do the top. So here you can see now the luster building up. Obviously we don't want a deep shine finish. What we're going to be doing is wire wooling and waxing back to give it a bit more of a bit more of a satin look to them. There you go, you can see the shine in there. It's a lovely luster. So I've probably built up about another 13, 14 coats so far. And what I want to do, you can see the top of there, you see it's looking very nice. What I want to do is carry on. I'm going to get up to around about 40 and we'll see what it looks like then. So here we go. 50 odd coats, give or take a few. Stunning looking finish. Like you can see a face in it. Although we don't want, when we're after getting back to a more satin finish at the end. There we go, look, you can see me with the filming in it. Such a lovely finish. You could leave it like this if you want to, but I like to dull it down and give it more of a satin look, because it gives it a really super smooth silky finish. It's come up absolutely stunning. So I've got to leave this again now for another, probably leave this for 48 hours to dry. And then we'll be back to do the final finishing of it, of them I should say. So now this has been left, these two speakers have been left now for 48 hours to really dry off solid. Right, okay, so what we're going to be doing now is wire wooling and waxing them back with this, which is Libron ultra fine 4 noughts wire wool. So I've got a pad of it here, okay, and all we're going to be doing is dulling the surface down all over. Okay, all it's doing is taking that sheen off, that high gloss sheen. Okay, because we don't want a high gloss sheen, because this is going into a Victorian house with a lot of old furniture, and the guy wants some nice and a satin look to them, just to blend in better with his decor in there. He's highly detailed, really nice guy, highly detailed on what he wants. So if you can see that there, so you might be able to see the shines come off of that now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wire wall the whole speaker over, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like afterwards. I just want to show you this, which is quite amusing. The wire wall is stuck to the magnets, all the magnets that are up and down these speakers to hold the front grills in. You can see it where it's clumped up there. Amazing. So I've finished the flattening back on this speaker. I've still got the other one to do, but what I'm going to do is show you. So this is the wax. Although it says briar wax in there, it's not briar wax in here. It's a special formula I mix up myself, and we're just going to put some wax around it. And the idea is this will just bring it up. It will still look slightly shiny. Well, it will look probably fairly shiny still, but it will it won't be that sticky sort of gloss finish. So when you do a really high gloss finish, what you do, you build up the coats, and afterwards you have to flat it back, flat the surface back, and then you have to use a rubbing compound to buff it up to make it into a mirror finish. But as I say, this isn't going to be a mirror finish. This is going to be a nice satin look to it, because we don't want it to look too shiny. Sometimes it looks better satin, in my opinion. Although on the camera here, I'm watching it as I'm filming it, it does look rather shiny, but it's not as shiny in person as it looks. If you get what I mean. It's complicated, but there we go. Now look at that. That is so smooth. The cloth just slides over it. See that? It's just beautifully smooth. There we go. That's lovely, that is. Right, I'm going to crack on with the rest of it. Right, so this speaker is totally finished. So it's got a lovely satin sheen to it. Looks glossy in the photo, in the video, but it's not. It's a satin finish on it. You got the grain really stands out. It's got depth to the colour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the next one up and fit them back up. Then I'll show you the finished article. So here we have the Bowers & Wilkins 804 D3s, totally repolished in a walnut colour, opposed to that dark red, which was very similar to my turntable there. It's a lovely satin finish on there. Look at that, all fitted up, and they all work perfectly. Fitted them all back together, and they're working lovely. So I hope you like this video. I put a lot of effort into doing a finish like this. As I say, this isn't your average run-of-the-mill polish job. This is a hell of a lot of work that goes into this. So thanks for watching another Tweaker Man video. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to give this video a like. Don't forget to press that notification bell so you're notified each time I upload a new video. And thank you for watching, guys.